Hello, good evening, Earthlings. How are you this evening? I'm way too bright again. I just turn that down. Welcome to the stream. It's nice to see you. So if this is the first time that you've ever been live with me, the way that you do it is that you can call in through Skype, or you can write questions through Skype. And my Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. That's in the box below. And yeah, and you can either write in or call if you've got questions. I do these talks every Wednesday and Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel and you have your notifications on and you press the bell, I know that's a lot of things, then you'll get emails about when I go live. You can also subscribe to my website to find out the events I'm doing, or you can what else can you do? Oh, Facebook page, yes. Sorry, another thought entered my brain now about something else. And then I stuttered. Technical problem. The light is too bright. There we go. Hopefully that is not as bright. No, it's still quite bright. Oh well, screw it. I just look very airbrushed or something. So I always like to start the talk with 5 or 10 minutes sitting in silence. So you're very welcome to join me for silence. Yeah, it might seem strange, but give it a go. I know you might be like, oh, and then browsing the internet, but maybe give it a go just to be in silence for like 5-10 minutes. Maybe there's something beautiful in it. Sorry, my fans are just going. I just have to force quit something. Hello. So what is non-duality? Non-duality is is who and what you always are. Hello, just making sure my microphone works. So non-duality is who and what you always are. It's this moment, it's what's happening. Your suffering comes from this identification with a person that's moving in time. So the idea and the energetic feeling that somebody's sitting, listening to Lisa speak, and sitting in front of a computer and sitting in a room on a planet in the universe, whereas that's actually not the truth. That's all imagination. That's all something that humans have made up. Who you truly are is this moment experiencing itself. And with that, it's never born or never dies. It's not something that is born with this body and then dies after this body diminishes. Who you are is what's always here. And that's so hard for the mind to imagine or to believe or to understand, because the person and the mind is fixated on your life that is 80 years old, 80 years, and that when you die, there is no more of you, and that you've got these 80 years where you've got to be happy, successful, you have to be something. Whereas there's nothing that you have to be. You are this. In non-duality, it can be talked about in a really complex way, like through consciousness and I amness, and use all these different words, but it comes down to the simplicity of this, is what you're looking for, what the person is seeking is this. So when you are identified with the body, mind, and with thoughts and with feelings and emotions, then what happens is there's always a sense of discomfort, because you're imagining something that's not true. So you're telling yourself continuously a lie. So there's always discomfort, whether it be emotionally or in the chakras or physically. There's always something that doesn't quite feel right, like you've got a stone in your shoe. And so then what you do to resolve that is you imagine ways in which that can be solved, whether that be being really rich, being successful, having lovers, having lots of sex, not having sex, kids, travel the world. What else is there? Be an Instagram star. Whatever it is that you believe will make you happy. And then what happens is, from about the age of maybe, like, you identify it maybe like 3, 4, and then maybe from the age of from that age you begin to seek more and more in time, and there's this investment in always thinking about you and how you can be happy and what you need to do. And it builds in all types of formation. It builds in stress, it builds in worry, it builds in anxiety. And the reason all these things build up is because you've always got an object or objective in which you need to achieve. And if you don't achieve it, then you're essentially having your home, your essence, taken away from you. But that's not conscious. That's what's happening in the background. What's consciously happening in the foreground is you're fixating on something and then worrying about it, or trying to get to it, or imagining it, or telling yourself you're a failure because you don't have it, or criticizing others that do have it, or jealousy, whatever it is, manifests on the surface. But in the background, what's happening is this person that is seeking to find home, to find yourself in future, whereas yourself is this moment. Who you are is right here. It's not about past and future. And the mind is like, how can it not be about me? Everything's about me. But the mind imagines, so the mind always thinks in dualistic terms, so subject, object, so me, you. So the mind can only think about this. This must be something about me. It must be me getting to enlightenment. And it's got nothing to do with you or anything you imagine yourself to be. All of that is appearing and disappearing in what you are. It isn't who you are. So this thought that's saying, tomorrow I must do this or I must do that, or you fucked up this, you made a mess about that, that is appearing in who you are. It's not the experiencer, it is an experience. So how do you get to it? That's the really frustrating part for most people, is who is this I that wants to get to it? Who is this person that you believe can get to it? It's a construct that you're imagining now. There is no you. There is only what's happening. There's only ever what's happening. You could try running to anywhere on this planet, going to the moon, going to Timbuktu, and you'll always realize the only thing there is what is. There's never not this. Everything else comes and goes. Everything else is here and appears and disappears. It's deeply relaxing that this is all you're looking for. Maybe there's some questions. I don't have any more to say today. Hello, Alan. Hi, Andrea. Big hug to you as well. Hi, Isabel. Lots of love to you. Hi, Nicholas. Hi again, Lisa. Can you talk about how I deal with excessive sexual thoughts and emotions while going about my daily meeting and seeing other people? Thanks a lot. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know everything. I know it might appear that I know everything, but I don't know everything. Especially being a woman. And maybe it's better to go and ask a male teacher this, like a tantra male teacher or something, or look up tantra. Yeah. And speak to me about it. I like your bravery in asking. I think that's really super cool, but I just don't think that I've got wisdom and knowledge about having excessive sexual thoughts. Could be an addiction, but who knows? I think you need to speak to a male teacher about it. I think it's very different from men and women, this type of thing. Thank you. Hi, Erst. Hi, Lisa. Can you tell something more about letting go of old suffering from the body? Listening to your videos all day, regards, and it seems to be my problem. So to me, there's so many different therapies out there, so many beautiful and brilliant therapies. To me, the way that I discovered working with my body and what I tend to teach is chakras. I didn't consciously learn what I teach. It was like bits from different teachers that worked for me. So what I began to notice when I was in non-duality was I could have these really profound waking up experiences and knowing who I was, but then there could be like a deep triggering of something in the body and a tight contraction and pulling back into the story and who I was. Like the feeling and the emotion was too much. And what I began to learn over time was, because at first I used to think that if you engage in the story, if you do something with the story, you're encouraging the person. But then through time I began to learn that the body stores stories. So it's not actually a person that stores stories. It's actually the body, and then they get activated and they pop up into the imagination. So there isn't actually somebody, like an entity, that's holding on to the story of you. The entity is something that's always appearing in the moment, and the body holds on to things that happen. So for example, say if when you're younger you get bullied at school or you get traumatized by something that happens at school, maybe you got bullied by the teachers or by the other pupils. Say it was that you used to get kicked in the playground by the other kids. What it did was maybe when you're in relationship with kids that are like them, so like boys or young boys that look a particular way, your whole body tenses up. So they kick you and it made you feel really afraid and your whole body shut down and you didn't really release that feeling. Your body sort of encompassed, held it or owned it. So say when they were interacting with you, it made you feel really afraid, really small, really insignificant, very ashamed. And then you held that in your body for the rest of the day. You didn't know how to deal with it when you were that age. And you just held it to try to pretend not to express it to other people that you're okay, that it doesn't matter. But behind that, you felt it. And then this goes on throughout our life. So say you get bullied and then you then have a dramatic relationship with your first girlfriend or boyfriend, and then you have difficulties with your boss at work, and it goes on and on and on. And every time it adds to the body's stress. So it adds more stories. And the reason that the body holds on to them is because they're not digested through the body. So when an animal is shocked or stressed, so say Khaleesi, when my dog is stressed, as soon as that stressful situation disappears, she normally stretches and yawns or shakes. Whereas humans don't do this. They don't know how to let it go. They carry on imagining it for hours, days, weeks, years after the events have happened. And all humans are like this. There's nobody that needs to be ashamed of it. It's a very natural response of the body to be shocked by something, and then we were never taught of how to release it or let go of it. So this happens throughout your childhood, and then you begin to hold that in your body, and then you begin to determine your life a bit from that bullying experience. You avoid people that might be bullies, or situations that might cause social anxiety, or where you might experience fear, and then your life begins to mold to that. And the whole time, the body's actually never dealt with the original problem. And so when I was like in my 20s, like maybe 25, 26, I began to discover how amazing massage was for letting go of these stories and like changing the makeup of my body. And I would massage certain points in my body, and I'd feel certain stories come up and certain ideas. And then eventually, as I got more sensitive and I learned more about my body and felt more things about my body, I began to realize how all emotions and feelings stem from chakra points in your body. So even if you're massaging your leg and a big emotion comes up, that emotion is then actually stored in one of the chakras. So we've got these 7 chakras through our body. So when you're feeling fear, you feel it in your sacral chakra, which is your lower belly. When you're feeling something like frustration or stuckness or helplessness, you feel it in your sacral, in your solar plexus. When you're feeling unbalanced and like you can't trust and ungrounded, you feel it in your root. When you have heartache, you feel it in your heart. When you feel unloved, abandoned. When you can't express yourself or not being seen, you feel it in your throat. Overthinking, compulsive imagination, cut off from empathy, you feel it in your third eye. And then cut off from something greater, you feel it in your crown chakra. It's sort of like a pushing down, like feeling heavy and weighty, and no connection to mystery. So that took a while for me to connect all of that. So massaging the body and my body relaxing, and then I began to be able to connect it to the chakras, and I could see that that all chakras, they always produce a similar type of feelings. So these similar feelings, and that gave me a guidebook to understand what was happening. So then that was a process, and another process took part. So say if I was in front of someone and I felt tense, I would then go into my chakras and analyze which one was in contraction and which one was tight and which one was hurting. So say if I was talking to someone and I felt tense, I would then go and look and see and realize that it's the heart chakra. I feel like I'm not good enough. And then I could do things I began to do it really quickly. So I'd be like, so where's that feeling coming from? When was the first time you felt not good enough? When I was at school and I was bullied by the teachers, or when I failed this exam, or etc. And I could connect it really quickly, and I would begin to move it into my life. It took years to get good at this, and I still practice it as well. And so what I do is I use the chakras to actually understand what my body is feeling and experiencing when I'm interacting with the world, even when things are happening really quickly, if I'm walking across the road or something. And then I feel like this is being like, I know it sounds weird, but that's being like the most authentic Lisa there is. Even if she's in panic about something or uncomfortable. Because prior to that, so through all this process, I used to always be telling myself a story in my head of who I was. So if I met someone and I felt insecure, I wouldn't necessarily realize it. what would happen is my head would start putting them down, or putting myself down, or thinking about something else, or zoning out, or trying to get away, and I wouldn't really recognize what was happening. Whereas now I try to stay really present to the natural organic feelings that are appearing in the chakras and being very truthful to them. Not all the time it happens. Sometimes there's stuff that goes unseen and then it gets revealed. And to me, it feels like in that, Lisa's then the most connected to the divine. That sounds really weird, but it feels like this is a very see-through Lisa. So even though this Lisa isn't perfect and she still has conditions from the past, it feels like a very innocent Lisa that's appearing, more childlike. And it feels like the emotions pass a lot quicker because they're being acknowledged. There's not some denial that's happening, or the body is just not in tension and the mind is telling some other story like, I don't care about them, who gives a F about them, they're this, they're that, they're never going to make it in life. The body is just like, I feel totally vulnerable in this moment. And that feels like that Lisa is directly coming from life itself. Even though this one was the one of this imagined Lisa, it sort of went through this like really long process to get to this Lisa that's in the head, the imagination of herself. So my advice to you is to get to know your body. So you say you did yoga since 2012. I think that's brilliant, doing yoga. Begins to make it more sensitive. And carry on in that endeavor, just trying to be more real and more honest to yourself. And it's kind of weird because non-duality isn't something that you do. You can't ever get to non-duality. You are non-duality. But what happens on the human level is you like brush off the bullshit, and then in a way, non-duality becomes more obvious, but not for anyone. Not all the time. Sometimes people could be really genuinely themselves, but have no idea who they are on the bigger level. But I feel like often what we have to do is like tidy up and make the person like really simple, and then another truth is seen when it's like really complex and going through this really intense process with lots of discomfort. You're so focused on yourself that it's impossible for another possibility to be suggested. Like saying, this is it, baby, is really annoying to someone that's like deeply contracted and comfortable. So my advice is get to know the body. Thank you for your question. If you have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to ask. Jordan, hi Lisa. Is there anything that can stop the body to act like a sponge with the energies of people? I feel more and more that I'm meditating other dynamics wherever I go. Thanks for the talk. I don't think so. I think if you're an empath, that's what happens, and you just have to begin to learn to deal with it. Some people say they know techniques, but I've never really found them. I found the best for me as an empath is just to live quite a simple life and to not overdo it. And sometimes putting my attention in the root chakra can help balance me when I'm in that. But the more that you see it as not personal, that in a way it's not yours or others' energy, it's all one energy appearing, then the easier it gets, because like you're maybe in a bit of a mindset where you're digesting other people's bloody energies and it's annoying to you, whereas it's all your energy as life, as consciousness. So it's kind of like embracing that as well. And being realistic, like I know that as an empath I have to be really gentle with myself. I can't overdo it. I just get tired and exhausted and emotional. And that's the way it is. We get into this non-duality business and we begin to think, I've got to be this perfect human that's always like, and likes pooing rainbows. And it's not like that. You don't become the perfect human. You only want to become the perfect person in order to have power over other people. You only want to be perfect in relationship to others. If all other people disappeared off this planet, you wouldn't care about perfection or being perfect. You just like pick your nose, scream when you felt like screaming, cry when you feel like crying. It's just so other people can see you as enlightened. Thank you, Jordan. Hi, Alan. Long question. I like to get my robot voice from the computer to read out questions, but it messed up my audio last time. Hello. Shall we see if we can do it? It totally wiped out my audio last time. No, we shouldn't risk it. I have studied about non-duality for a long time, and everything always comes back to this moment. Nothing to say, nothing to prove, nothing to gain, nothing to lose, no past, no future. All that is left is just a sense of being. My mind struggles with that because it keeps grasping. It's like I'm stuck in the habit of seeking, even though I know there isn't anything to find. I suppose I get bored with life and don't see the urgency in anything. Well, everyone else puts great importance on achieving or gaining. I feel like I'm in limbo. Yeah. It can be a little like that. There can be two reasons for it. No, actually there's only one reason for it. It's an issue with the solar plexus. So there is nothing to achieve in this life. There is just what's happening. But obviously we need to do things, otherwise we die. So we need to get the shopping, we need to tidy the house. And actually that's enough in itself, just the simple activity of doing these things. And there's some things that you'll like more than others, so some things that you find less pleasurable and some things more pleasurable. But when you're seeking, the seeking mind is always looking for contentment in what it's doing. So when it's cleaning the house, say if it really doesn't like cleaning the house, when it's cleaning the house, it feels like cleaning the house is taking away its freedom. Whereas actually, in the moment of cleaning the house, there is only cleaning the house, and if it's painful, if you don't like it, then it's just painful. It's not taking away your freedom, but this is an unconscious thing that goes on. And then when you seek to get pleasurable things, you believe that they're giving you freedom. So when you have pleasure, they're giving you freedom. And then you oscillate between the two, avoiding pain and getting to pleasure. When that begins to be challenged, it sometimes can affect the solar plexus because your whole life has been based on getting things, and those things having huge importance and huge drama. And as that gets challenged, then you can fall into hopelessness and a sense of depression or boredom or lack. And it's all to do with the solar plexus. So let me explain the solar plexus to you. So the solar plexus is the place of making decisions. Now I know that sounds really odd from a non-dual perspective, but we have the appearance of making decisions. So I have the appearance of being able to decide to, go back to England and visit my mum. I have the appearance of that choice. So that choice will come up and it will be contemplated, they'll be looking at tickets, and then the choice will be made or not made. Now, on the ultimate level, there's nobody who makes that choice, but there's the appearance of the choice that happens. There's the appearance of Lisa that makes a choice, but it's seen that those thoughts and impulses don't come from anywhere. And choosing is like really important for us as humans. So in some psychological circles, they would say that when parents haven't encouraged the child to make its own decisions and to focus on what it wants, so when the parents, maybe if you had narcissistic parents that always focused on what they wanted and pushing their agenda and not encouraging the child to have strong boundaries and know what they want and believe that they can achieve what they want, then they sometimes call that not developing the sense of self, like the person's got a weak sense of self. So in psychology, it's really important to be able to distinguish this and to be able to have a strong sense of what you want. And it's not a personal thing, it's a natural activity that's arising for everyone, enlightened or not. But the solar plexus gets overly activated when identification happens because there's this added thing that pleasure. So your choice can lead you to a pleasure which will make you feel at home, and then it makes it like really high or really low, these dynamics. And the solar plexus goes from one side to the other, and I'll show you how it goes. So solar plexus in its positive is making choices, being able to discern what it is that you want and do not want, putting up boundaries, anger, but anger in a positive way, like anger that creates action. It's not a negative thing. Hopeful, helpful, feeling like you can do things, feeling empowered, direction, motivation, energy. And in its negative, the solar plexus, it's hopelessness, helplessness, boredom, stuckness, feeling like you can't make a choice, that you can't decide, that you don't know what you want, lack of boundaries. And you can get excessive and deficient energies that respond to that. So you can get an excessive energy that is like a powerhouse that's always going out after what it wants, and it's just fixated constantly on getting what it wants. And this isn't imbalance, but and maybe you know those types of people that will do anything, that will sell your mother in order to get what you want. And then you've got deficient energies that don't have much energy there and kind of always feel like they can't do it and that they won't make it, and they don't have the energy to do it, and they can't choose, they can't decide, like indecisiveness. And you can have both of these personalities in you. It can go from one to the other. Some personalities are more focused on one or the other, and then sometimes it flicks between the two. And it's all the solar plexus area. And a lot of people struggle with this because, in a way, this area is what we'd call a sense of self. It is where your sense of self comes from, because really the sense of self is made up of what it is you want and the direction in which your life goes in. I know you maybe think your sense of self has a lot more to it, but that determines all the other factors, like if you're rich or poor or nice or happy or depressed or not depressed, or live here or live there. It determines a lot of factors if you go for what you want and if you know what you want. So I would work on that, and I don't think that it's a non-duality problem as such. Non-duality has sparked it because you have realized now that in all the things that you used to think would give you love, they won't give you love. So maybe it's now gone more into the depressive energy, and you simply need to work on that. I think on my website now I've added these chakra meditations from Osho, so you can do some chakra meditations. There's a book on there about chakras, and just getting to know that chakra, like seeing when you feel bored, like relating it back to that chakra and seeing the boredom, and when you when you've had it in the past, what it's related to, if it makes you feel helpless or stuck, like really investigate that area, and get to know it, like what's it saying, and when did you first start feeling bored? Are you a child or a teenager, and what have you done to try to escape that boredom? And really what the boredom most probably means is a fear of existence, like when you really break it down. A fear that this is it to existence. Your essence as no thing, as everything, doesn't contain any boredom. Boredom is totally a man-made thing on the human level. It's a thought process and energy. Thank you for your question, Alan. Thanks, Lisa. With pleasure. Hi, Lisa. So much gratitude for what you offer us from your heart, Eric. Hi, Eric. Filippo. Good evening, Lisa. Good evening, Filippo. Non-duality seems to be something over the individual or the person or the character, but it expressed by the individual, by humans. As I get the that contains me, but it rises in me. How is it possible? It's just kind of giving up your will to understand. And do you know any teacher in Spain? Thank you for your speeches. speeches. Sorry, I'm Italian. You're so inspiring. I would book a session with you, but I am living with very low budget in this period. Hi Filippo. You want to know a teacher in Spain when you're Italian? You live in Spain? There are teachers in Spain. There's one famous Spanish one, I forget. And then in Italy there is Shakti that I know of. I forget the name. He's really famous. The Spanish one. Okay, so let me just decipher your question. But it's expressed by individuals, by humans. As I get it, that contains me, but it raises in me. How is it possible? Is it just kind of giving up your willing to understand? I don't know if I know what you're asking me, Filippo. It certainly is mysterious, and it's not giving up your willingness to understand. The brain understands, the person understands. It's seeing that there's something beyond you that doesn't care less if it's right or wrong or good or bad or any concepts. It is just experiencing. In a way, the person can never give up understanding, or the brain can never give up understanding. That's what it does. But there's something else here. The brain isn't what experiences. The brain is experienced. The person is experienced. So who are you? Thank you for your question, but maybe you write it again because I'm not sure I totally understood. Hi Nick. Hi Lisa. Listening to you is pure music. A most beautiful melody. Thank you. Much love. Ah, nice, Nick. Hi Lisa. Can you say something about returning to the body and to returning to consciousness? Warm regards, Ian. You could ask yourself a question like, who is returning? You've always been yourself. It's just there's been this illusion arising in you that makes or gives the appearance that that is who you are, this character that's been appearing, this person that's been chattering about itself and talking about itself and going on about others and with lots of emotions and feelings. Hi Elliot, can it help to decide to stop searching for awakening? You say you are not interested in or talk about non-duality in everyday life. How do you manage it? I read and hear about it all the time. Well, it's no effort not to talk about it. I don't really want to talk about it. I have no interest. I would rather sit in silence with someone really than talk about non-duality. If somebody is suffering or if somebody has questions, then I'm happy to talk about it with them. But I have no interest in preaching at anyone, in selling this to anyone, in convincing anyone, in nothing, no interest at all. Normally it comes from, like, wanting to do that, it comes from like an unresolved place in yourself. Like, for an example, it's always so much easier to give myself as an example, so I will. So like with my parents have never been interested in this. I found out recently that when I first got involved in the Buddhist group, that my parents thought I was getting involved in a cult. They never really said anything at the time. I never actually had the urge to preach it to them or sell it to them, non-duality, but I wanted to change their dynamics sometimes, but that was totally because of me. Like, I wanted to change their dynamics solely because so they could see from my perspective what I was experiencing or feeling in the family unit. And so I wanted to change my experiences when I was in relationship with them, which, I mean, is really logical. There's nothing wrong with that, but they weren't interested in doing that. And so what used to happen was then I would preach at them, and then I would become a bit of a bully. Not really, actually. I didn't ever really have those types of dynamics. But to a tiny extent, like, I would try and like push certain psychological ideas onto them. And totally because of the way I fitted into the family and my relationship with them. And it's the same in non-duality, is that normally if you're preaching to people and wanting to preach to people about non-duality, especially people that haven't asked you. If people have asked you and really asked you honestly, then it's a different matter. But if you're preaching at them, then there's an unresolved dynamic that's appearing in you. Maybe you didn't feel heard when you were a child. Lots of different reasons. Maybe you want to be right. Maybe it's validating it for you. Maybe it's something you learned from your parents, like your dad was always preaching, or your mum. Like, lots of different things. Maybe you're always taught that you have to help people. It's okay, like, to talk about non-duality if people ask you, but why would you go pushing anything onto anyone? Especially this subject. So there's just absolutely no desire. So actually, to be honest, talking or expressing non-duality feels better expressed through silence and through daily activity and through speaking about the mundane to me. And then if someone asks about non-duality, but that's how I express it. It's through buttering the sandwich, it's through making lunch, it's through opening the fridge door. That's all about food. I'm a very greedy person. Through stroking the dog or walking the dog or putting your slippers on or going for a pee-pee, which I need to do now. It looks like we're out of questions, so if nobody asks questions, then I'll just end the stream early, but I can hold it maybe another 10 more minutes. Yagi dag dag dag. What day is it today? Wednesday. Yeah, ba. Aga do, push my knuckle, shake the tree. Aga do, la 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 la. How can I get friends and family interested in non-duality? They seem so incredibly disinterested. It's none of your business if they like it or not. Butt out of their business. If they're interested in it, then it's all self-motivated. You want them to be interested in it for you. They've got their life to live and their particular stories to live out. If they're interested, they know where to go to. But out of their life. It's self-centered, most likely. No, definitely. Like even that question, how do you get people to be more interested in it, is self-centered because you don't want to see them suffer or because you think it will give the answer to them. We're all so incredibly empty of knowing what's right or wrong or good or bad. And when they have the impulse to be interested, they will have the impulse to be interested. So you have to look into you to see what makes it unbearable to be around people or uncomfortable to be around people that aren't interested in non-duality. Do you need other people to think or believe what you feel? Do you want them to stop suffering? Do you want them to be nicer to you or kinder to you? Like, what is your issue with them not being interested? Like, people get so arrogant when they get into religion. Not that non-duality is religion, but in some ways you could say it's like a new philosophy, that then they've got to spread it and share it to everybody they know and all their loved ones. It's the best thing in the universe, and in a way it's like a massive ego trip. It's like believing that your way is the right way and then going to war with other people or trying to get other people interested in it. Concentrate on you. Get to know God yourself. And then be God. God, that could sound really bad to a narcissist, but be yourself, be essence. I'm not saying that you're a narcissist, Elliot, but there's lots of people listening. Hi Kevin. Hi Lisa. I just tuned into school. Tuned in as school has just cancelled and just feel like saying hi. One sourceling to another sourceling. Hey, nice to hear from you, Kevin. Really nice. Max. Hello, Lisa. There was a moment in the past days, a moment when I was sitting quietly on purpose, and then I gave up even on that attempt of being quiet, and then there was just great peace. But since then, there is a feeling that my ego became even stronger, and after that experience, now it has even harder to be quiet. Is it okay? Should I fight it and be quite harder? Thanks. Yeah, that often happens. Everything collapses and then the mind is like, it comes up and gets really agitated because it's trying to be something and wants to be something. But notice in that the shift happened when there was just a surrendering in. There wasn't your doing it, it just kind of happened, you just gave up. It's beautiful. Aloha. Hello, Eve 49 T. Eve 49 T. Aloha. Thank you so much for sharing your teaching with us. With pleasure, Eve. Lately, I find so much peace hanging out with you on Wednesday and Sunday morning. Oh, nice. I have one question about dreams and lucid dreaming. I have always been very curious and interested to lucid dream myself and tried a few techniques to get into it. What do you think is the non-dual perspective on dreaming lucidly, and have you experienced it yourself? Thanks, Eva. I experienced it one time in a reoccurring dream, but no, I've never practiced it. I think it's really beautiful to experience, and I think that on the human level, it will break down loads of your boundaries and ideas if you manage to do it. I think it will be a really profound experience for you on the human level. In some ways, you could see that lucid dreaming is reflecting back like this non-dual message, that there is something that is dreaming all of this, but it's just not a person, it's not a form, it's nothing, but there's something beyond you that's dreaming it. So when you're in your dream at night, you really believe that you are real and that your world and everything is real, and then finding out it's not is really quite profound. And that's the same with this world, except the person that, or that which wakes up, isn't a person. So yeah, I would go for it. Yeah, I know people that have had real success with it. I've never invested any time into it, not because I didn't want to, just because there's so many things to invest time in that I've been sidetracked. But yeah, I'd go for it. I think it would be really amazing to do. This is from Kevin, who lucid dreams a lot. Yes, lucidity reveals the union of the dreamer and the dreamt as one omni-self. There's no questions left, so I just sit for a moment. So Anne says it's all about relaxing. Sort of, but who is relaxing? Who relaxes? Hi, Elliot. When is your next retreat? May 2020 in the south of Spain. I forget what dates, like the end of May, I think. Hi, Carmela. Thank you, Lisa. I needed to hear some of these things today to help with work stress. Breathing deep into the solar plexus. Yeah. Yeah, often work is related to the solar plexus or the sacral chakra. sounds like so much fun. Nice. But maybe that's enough for this evening. There's no more questions. And I need to go pee-pee. Yes, I shall see you on Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. Lots of love. Thank you. Bye.